I'm joined by one of my favorite clients, Erin Stetzer. Erin is the founder of Erin Stetzer Homes, which is a luxury custom home building company based in Houston. She's been in the industry for over 25 years and her projects are amazing. She's really known for just really high-end work, amazing client experience. People really rave about her and the work that her and her team does. What's really exciting and what we'll talk about in this episode is how Erin has expanded beyond just the build over the past year. She's really stepped into this new role as educator and coach, and she's teaching other homeowners and industry professionals how to navigate the home building process and all of the things she's learned over her 25 years in the industry. So we've been working together for just over 6 months, and she's on what I call my complete package, which means I act as her fractional CMO. And she also has one of our marketing integrators, Emily, on her team, who works day to day in the business to execute on things and move things forward with the team. So it's a full marketing team model. And in this conversation, we are going to talk about what made Erin and her team decide to bring us on, what the experience has been like, some of the wins that she's had, and really what it's been like supporting her and working with her together. So Erin, welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
I just want to say thank God for Jess.
Okay, so before we dive in, I just want to say you have been such an amazing client and collaborator. And like one of the things that I admire most about you is just how willing you've been able to trust the process and hand over the reins and really let us as your marketing team do what we do best. It's been really cool for us to be in our zone of genius and watch you get to stay in yours. And then beyond that, you're such a kind, generous, amazing human. So it's been amazing working with you, watching you expand into this new space, sharing your knowledge. And I feel really, really grateful to be along for the ride.
Thank you.
Well, before we jump in, I would love you to share your story. Where did your career start? What brought you to where you are today?
Started in the home building business about 25 years ago, worked in a few different models of home building, meaning production home building, where you build a bunch of homes at one time and you really learn the systems. It's imprinted in your brain. That was part one. Part two is then launching a business. So we start a family. Alec is my husband. We have 5 kids. We start a business and I want to be with my kids, right? The big question arrives, how do I want to handle this? I had to learn how to pace the company along with the pace of building a family. So I think that's an important thing for all business owners and entrepreneurs to just sort of recognize that it's not always a sprint, it's a sprint and a marathon. So now we're in the world of luxury home building, private representation for legacy projects for clients. And we're also in the digital space, sharing what we know and how we can try to speed things up for others in the industry and for homeowners.
And you have some really cool offerings outside of building luxury homes. One of the things, and I think this is new within the last year as well, is your homeowner representation that you mentioned. And I think it's funny because you and I often talk about the similarities between that service that you offer people and then what I do from a marketing perspective. And I just think it's really cool. And I hadn't heard anyone offering this before. And so I'll explain it as I understand it. And the way I see it is you're coming in as someone's representative to represent their interests because, they will have a builder, probably a designer. They're moving through building their luxury home wherever they live. And they might not necessarily be close to you to hire you as their builder, but they can hire you to come in and be that person who's managing everything for them, making sure that their investment is being used wisely, what their dream home is in their head comes to life the way they want it to. And they're really avoiding any kind of painful lessons that they might learn along the way if they don't have somebody like you, because you're the expertise that can share with them what to ask, what to look for, and how to advocate for their needs along the way. Let's rewind a bit. What made you start looking for marketing support or fractional CMO support specifically? And did you even know that was a thing?
So no, I didn't know that existed. In fact, the only marketing or sales I was ever aware of is right in front of my face, where someone wants to build a home. Well, we can build you a home. What would you like to do? Right. So right there in my face.
Yeah.
So at least in a market where we're in a really, really small niche, it's something that's manageable. But once you get outside of that niche, marketing is a totally different world. So I can lean totally on you and I'm having fun learning it, but I don't have the pressure and stress to work through a system. As far as marketing goes, I really didn't know anything about marketing.
Yeah.
And if you want to scale the company, which is the position that I found myself in, that takes marketing. And so we need an expert for that. I think I would just say that I don't know if people really know that they do need marketing in this world these days. It's very different than it was 20 years ago.
Especially in your industry. And I think one thing that's been really cool is you have been on the leading edge of a lot of things this past couple of years in your industry from both a kind of offer perspective, like all of your, and we can talk about those a little bit more, but your coaching program for industry professionals and all of the sort of best practices and trainings that you've learned along the way sharing with everybody. I think what is really cool is just that you've been able to be that in your industry, take that stand and say, okay, I don't know this, but I'm just going to get out there and do it and learn it. And it's been really cool. And I think plays into a lot of the success that you've seen with your digital products that you've created.
And it's a little bit cowgirlish, just go out and do it. But what I realized quickly is if I was really going to be serious about this and really treat this digital space as a company, a real company in service of others, then we need real experts.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need real marketing experts with real resources that are reliable, with real technology that they use, and the ability to filter through my crazy thoughts that I bounce off of you. And you have the ability, because you've been doing this at a high level, you have the ability to filter through how to manage. That's a skill in itself, your clients.
Yeah.
Got to
Absolutely.
filter through it. You have to advise. And then, at least for us, we're getting lots of great results.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I think that's been a really cool part. You've been really leaning on us as advisors and experts, which is awesome because it allows us to be in all of the right conversations and be able to steer things and help support. And then I think, you mentioned something that's really common with entrepreneurs is you're a visionary and you have so many creative ideas, which is amazing. And we've been able to have some really great conversations around, okay, this is a great thing. Let's jump on that. Or, okay, let's take this idea and kind of slightly massage it and put it over here. Or, you know what? That's a good idea, but not right now. And so you've been really open to that feedback, which I think has allowed the relationship to flow really well. Also, just make sure that we're focused on the right things because I think that as a visionary, you're always going to have so many ideas and it's not a bad thing at all. If anything, it's amazing. But there's just been such a beautiful partnership of back and forth of like, okay, what do we do with all of this and where does it best fit in the bigger picture?
Think about people that you work with. If that's how the visionaries operate, then they're giving their blood, sweat, and tears to this, right? And so there's a massive level of trust and an investment too, because there's no guarantee that any of this is going to work in the world.
Yeah.
Including in building.
Yeah.
When we're placed in Jess Shira's palm and you and your team are doing the research, connecting the dots on the path forward, and then also tracking every week, giving us reports on what's working, what's not working, major feedback on financial responsibility around marketing, right? Because a lot of visionaries might be like, do it all, do it. Where we rely on you to say, that's a fun idea, but I'm looking at our cash flow for the next year.
Yeah.
And here are some checkpoints that we want to hit first so that we can manage ourselves and grow this thing.
Yeah. We've had lots of conversations around that because there's so many things you can be investing in when you're growing your company. And it can be tough when you're alone and feeling like you're making this decision by yourself to decide, okay, is this going to work for me? Is this the right thing? Is this worth the investment? And so we've had a lot of really great conversations about that and then used our data and our projections to help make decisions around where should we be investing.
Yeah. And I want to share before I met you, I knew I wanted to grow something. And so I was investing just in things that weren't the best investments, frankly. But it's what I knew.
Yeah.
But then I get to the point where I know I don't know because this is not working.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what happened. I met you and you could apply a structure and a responsible investment strategy in order to reach these goals, which I think is huge because a lot of us get caught in, I run a great business. I can handle this. I couldn't.
And I think that we work with such a variety of clients. Some clients are in the online business space and know and understand marketing to some extent. And then others are like you, where your zone of genius and your expertise is not marketing. It's luxury home building. You have so much business knowledge from that lens. But with the digital offer space, when it comes to creating courses and selling those and creating programs and things like that is all so new. And I think that there's so much information out there, whether it's a freebie or podcasts or coaching programs or you name it. There is no shortage of information. And I think it can be really overwhelming for someone who doesn't have a marketing background to discern, like, okay, what is the right thing for me? Where do I invest? What should I be doing? And that's what we love doing is coming in and saying, okay, well, based on, we have so many conversations too about you as a person and your energy and what you love and what makes sense for you. And I think that's what's missing sometimes with these kind of group programs or the blanket information that's out there is not tailored to you as an individual and your unique vision for your business. And so you can sometimes invest in something and then realize later, kind of halfway down the road, that, oh, this isn't actually right for me. This doesn't feel good, or it's not working, or it's not exactly what I thought it would be.
Yeah. And what I remember very early on with you, Jess, is my question in my own head was, how do I serve the most people for the least amount of money? That was one question. The other question was, how do I serve a specific niche that would actually invest more money in that expertise? And in working with you, you were able to create both, where I was not able to connect these together.
Yeah.
And you're continuing to do that, where you said you understand where I'm coming from
Hmm.
and who I want to serve. But here I thought, I have a strategy, no problem. But actually, we didn't, nothing. And now you take us step by step by step with what we're comfortable with. And you also push on things that can be better. I mean, you just sent me this app the other day, right? The teleprompting app, because I tend to go rogue on video in a very nice way, very Jess way. Hey, I have a little recommendation. I've written you a script. Now you need to follow it. I've never listened to anyone except for you on that. You know who you're working with. And you also know how to deliver a result. And what you're doing is you're saying, hey, Erin, let me bring you on a little ride. We're going to go this way and we're going to get to this delivery. That's what you do without me knowing it. So thank you.
I think it's really interesting because there are so many versions of success. Some people have built businesses where their whole calendar is booked with one-on-one consulting calls or coaching calls. Other people's businesses are completely passive, low ticket digital products. And I think one of the things that makes us really different is we don't have one methodology that we're kind of quote unquote pushing and saying this is the way. I really truly believe when it comes to online business and marketing, there isn't one way. There's no secret sauce or magic bullet. Really getting crystal clear on you as a person. So you're the founder, you're the CEO, it's your life, your vision. What do you want your days to look like and feel like? And what does that mean from an offer perspective? And then shaping it from there because there's so many pathways to quote unquote success or results. But, I've seen so many people build something and then get to the top of the ladder or the mountain and be like, I hate this. I'm so burnt out and I can't keep doing this. And so we're really cognizant of that when we're working with clients and building out offer strategies or looking at marketing. Even, you with your coaching program and your playbooks, we took some time to work with you to figure out how do we do this in a way that actually works with you and who you are as a person and your energy and how you think rather than trying to fit you into a process that doesn't work? How do we take the genius that's already there and extract that and make it feel good so that it's energizing? So I think that's just something that I feel is so important and unique about our team and the way we work with clients.
I think you're alluding to a lot of people in this world keep people in a box because it fits their business. This is you asking, who are you and where can we go with this? And one of the things that I am so grateful for in you is that you deliver on resources. We needed people in your world that we could trust, and you brought them to the table, multiple people. So I think that is true leadership. That is the greatest value you could have ever added to a dream that I have. You're thinking through of I know the structure. Who are the people we need now?
Yeah.
Because I don't know them. You do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And every single person that we work with on your team is extraordinary.
Oh, it makes me so happy to hear.
I'm in a world where we work with a lot of people and a lot of different companies and a lot of subcontractors where you don't have control over how they operate.
Yeah.
because they're not part of our company.
Yeah.
And that takes a skill and that takes a trusted person and that takes a reliable person to even present someone like that to the table.
Yeah.
I would have spent 10 years trying to find somebody who could handle all of our email marketing, our social media,
Yeah.
our branding, our photo,
Yeah. Yeah. And
all of it.
it's one of the things I actually hear and see so often is hiring mistakes because, like I was saying before, if you don't know marketing, or even if you do, there's people that, they've built their own business, but I've been in corporate marketing before this, been doing marketing for, oh gosh, I don't know how many years, 15 years, something like that. And I think over time, managing teams, hiring, going through all of that, I really have been able to develop this really strong radar for picking out people who are just really excellent at what they do. And it's probably been one of my favorite things about starting this
Mm.
company. All of the business I've been able to pass on to other people who are just excellent at what they do. And just spending time networking and collecting really, really great people because there's nothing that drives me crazier than when I hear or I talk to a founder and they're like, we hired this social agency or this ads agency and they were not good at what they did, or it was a waste of money, or they said well, they were going to do this, but this was actually what we got. And unfortunately, I hear that all the time. And if you're not a marketer, you don't really know the right questions to ask or what to look for. So I think it's just a really cool shortcut that we can bring our clients is, and I also tell literally anyone that my DMs are always open because if you're looking for someone, it's just such a deep passion of mine to help people not make those bad hires where they, you spend 3 to 6 months with someone and you're like, oh God, now I'm back to the drawing board. And it's just so expensive from a time and cost loss perspective.
Yes, you have certainly figured that out,
Thank you.
which is really great for the people on the other end because I have enough to worry about my business. I don't have any energy that I want to spend on worrying about marketing.
Yeah.
I have zero room for it.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're busy doing other great things.
I love that. And actually, that was one of the things I was going to ask you. So, you feeling like marketing is taken care of and you don't have to worry about it. What does that allow you to do or feel? What's that like for you?
We all want to be with our kids and our
Yeah.
family. And, I was picking the phone up too much to try to research or sifting through my computer on a Saturday or Sunday. I didn't know any better. Right. So I went down that rabbit hole and was like, that's not going to work long term. One, I don't know what I'm doing. Two, I want to grow this thing. Three, there's got to be a better solution. I've been in business long enough. There's always a way.
Yeah.
There's always a way. I just need to figure out who that is.
Yeah. There's so many mentors who say this, but the concept of you can spend years, months, etc., learning the thing, making the mistakes along the way, learning it yourself, DIYing, or you can find someone who knows and has the answers and like massively shortcut your journey to where you're trying to go. And I think that's what we've been able to do here for you.
And like in the world these days, when I started building, we worked in a trailer with fax machines. I didn't have a cell phone then, right? So you had to it was really hard to expand and get to know people. But literally, someone who is watching this podcast needs to call you because you're welcome. Whoever's watching this podcast, just sped your life up about 10 years.
All right. We've been working together for just over 6 months, and I pulled together a little list of wins for us. I wanted to just focus on the first 90 days because we get so many questions when we're talking with potential clients about the ROI and what are they going to be getting ROI from working with us. And we never promise ROI. It's obviously not something we can promise. Every business is so different. There's so many things that go into generating revenue. It's really not as simple as you do XYZ and money falls out of a vending machine. But I will say our team is very revenue focused. As you know, we've had conversations about profit margin and marketing spend. And I like to think when we are working with clients, I think of their business like it was mine. Would I spend this money? Would I be happy with these results? Would I want my team focusing here? What I wanted to do was kind of pull together what happened in the first 90 days of us working together and really reflect on that. So in the first 90 days, we found over $15,000 in annual tech savings. We generated over $620,000 in revenue, including over $130,000 in just 5 days from a $499 course that we supported in creating and getting live for you for the first time. At the time, you were spending money on an ads agency, but there was no return because everything still was in progress in terms of getting built. So we were able to work with them to fast track getting something up and launch your first profitable ad campaigns. Results ranged from 2x ROAS to there were some weeks we had 36x ROAS, meaning $1 in, $36 out. It's been incredibly successful. We've seen numbers in your paid ads campaigns that we don't see anymore. Another thing, we started rebuilding your email list and bringing in high quality leads for as low as 44 cents per person, which is wildly low, especially in 2025. And then we've since launched new offers. We have so many other things on the go, like your brand new newsletter that's gotten amazing feedback from your subscribers. We're looking at your offer suite and how can we get more of what you know out to more people and so many other things. So when you hear all of that, what stands out the most to you? Or are there any wins that feel especially exciting for you?
I liked to win. A lot of sports growing up. I like to hear that we're doing better than expected
Yeah.
because I had no idea. Now I'm hearing more about how the marketing statistics work and what's normal and what's not normal. To literally hand this thing over to you and say, let's go. I totally trust you. And then you just tackle it, make things happen. And you're providing an investment opportunity for us to continue to grow. It's not always about making a bunch of money. It's about you setting something up healthy so that we can continue to reach as many people as we can. And you can only do that if it's structured and healthy,
Yeah.
which is what you're doing.
A sustainable business model because we don't want to be growing something that, again, you wake up one day and you're like, this is not what I want.
Yes. And I always appreciate you'll call me every now and then and not, we have our structured phone calls, something might pop up and you'll say, hey, I had this idea. I want you to think about it. Could you give me your thoughts? I mean, you already have your thoughts, but you want to hear from the other person. And then something is recreated within the work we've already done, right? So it's not, you didn't just dump a huge load on my plate and say, it turns out we want to change some things. Probably we'll be working for 8 months straight and not see sunlight. Some people do that. I really appreciate that, really analyze the work done and how to capitalize on it.
When we look at what already exists in the business, I really see that as assets. And my thinking is, if something has worked before, how can we repurpose it or how can we make this work and how do we leverage this? And I think particularly for you, because the digital offer side of your business, so your courses, your coaching program, that's not only what you do. Most of your time is tied up with your clients. And so everything we ask you to do, I want to make sure that, so really, I think through what are the highest leverage things that we can have Erin work on. And then all of the other things, how do we take that on ourselves or how do we leverage what we already have? And just thinking through all of that to make it not feel like an overwhelming thing on your plate when you're already busy.
Yeah, because that would not have worked for me.
Yeah.
If you were just to, throw a bunch of things my way. And it probably wouldn't work for a lot of people, which is a skill that you have in navigating what's urgent, what do I need and when do I need it? And how can I be super efficient with this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is highly valuable to your clients.
I think it stems from something you mentioned before. I too have kids and a family. And when I'm focused on a strategy for clients, I want to make sure my time is best leveraged and that whatever I'm working on is the highest impact because I don't want to be glued to my computer. Having kids really shifted that for me and really became what do I want my life to look like? And do I want to be the mom that's glued to my computer when they get home and back on it as soon as they're in bed? And, do I want to take care of myself and have time to spend with my kids and my husband and my friends and just enjoy life too? I think realizing that boundary or that value of mine around balance has just made it a non-negotiable for me to really think through what am I working on right now? What are we doing with our clients? And are we using our time together in the best way possible?
I have a question for you.
Yeah, I love questions.
How do you pick your clients?
And it has changed so much over the years. So much. Honestly, I think when I started this business, so about 4 years ago, anyone who said yes was my client because I was leaving corporate, starting my business, and really not sure even what I was doing. When I started this company, it was marketing by Jess. It was just myself, and I was kind of doing everything. I had left a corporate career where I was a marketing leader and doing a lot of what I do now, but I left so burnt out. And I was like, I don't know if I even like marketing. Do I want to be creative? Maybe I want to do branding. Maybe I want to do websites. So I ended up taking such a random mix of projects that were execution, strategy, really all over the place. And I think through that exploration, kind of found and figured out what I loved and what I didn't like, and landed on that what I absolutely love is strategy. And that is where I shine, where I'm really, really strong. And then I think through that and just working with different clients and trial and error, I started to realize what works best for me and the kinds of clients we work with. So now the kinds of clients I look for and love to work with are typically, I would say most of our clients have some offerings in the digital product space, either courses or memberships, subscriptions, programs, something like that. Sometimes we will have e-commerce or business to business kind of services, but it's usually in the digital offering space. So that's kind of number one is what do they do? What do they sell? And are we familiar with selling that kind of a thing? Another super important filter that I use is where are they at from a revenue perspective. And I would say most of our clients are at the 7-figure mark with their digital products. I only say that because I like to make sure that we are supporting selling something that's proven. So if they've sold it before, it's proven instead of, it's a whole different ballgame when you're trying to figure out what to sell. It requires a whole different kind of marketing. And there's a lot more around the offer strategy side of things, and it's unproven. So for us to come in with that kind of a client, for example, if they've never sold anything before, we don't know who is their audience. Are they interested in anything like this? We're not really sure. So it's a lot harder for us to come in and amplify and optimize. Whereas with you, when we started, you had 2 really successful launches and so many things that were telling you and telling us that there's a lot more demand here and you've barely scratched the surface. We look at revenue and then we
Mm.
also look at team size. And I would say we either look for somebody who has a small marketing team or some agency contractors, or we look for clients who have a little bit of budget to bring on some support. And that's why we brought in Emily, one of our marketing integrators, because you had a couple of the pieces, but you didn't have somebody that could jump in and execute on a whole bunch of things within your business. And if we didn't have Emily doing that, there wouldn't be somebody. So we really wanted to make sure that you had the right executional support. And then I would say probably absolutely number one for me outside of all of that is just somebody who is a good person. I really take on someone's business as if it were mine and I care a lot. I'll be out for a walk or in the shower, falling asleep at night and jotting down ideas for your business or our clients' businesses because I so deeply care. So it's really important to me to make sure that the people we're working with are kind and great people and just that energetically we really get along because we spend so much time, we get so ingrained in the business and the people on the team. So that really matters.
What do you do when maybe someone you're working with or company you're working with gets a little off track and you can't get them back on track? Or maybe it's more about how do you get them back on track?
Yeah, it depends. I first think it's important to understand why they're off track. We've had clients where you think about a client last year across the board, sales were down and we did a big analysis. And really what it came down to was that everything across their business was down. So it's really important that we're looking at data here. If we look at their email list, social media, all of the channels in which they're out there marketing themselves and growing an audience. And for this particular client, everything was down across the board, their social growth, their email list growth, their reach. So if you think about it almost like an engine, the previous year, if everything was growing, so their lists were growing, they were getting in front of more people faster, their reach and engagement were growing. So ultimately, at the end of the day, what that meant was more people were buying. And when we pulled way back and we said, well, what happened? What happened last year that isn't happening this year? And they had actually launched a book and done a podcast tour, like a huge podcast tour. They were on, I want to say 50 to 100 of the biggest podcasts out there. So if you think about that, they're borrowing other people's audiences. They're getting in front of, let's say, 1,000 podcast listeners or, 1 million email subscribers or all of these social followers. They're getting in front of that person's entire audience. So that fueled their growth. And that also fueled sales. So when we looked at, everything on a macro level, it was, okay, here's the problem. Here's why things are down. And here are a few different pathways of how we could course correct. And of course, we wanted to kind of keep in mind what their goals were. And did they want to go do another podcast tour that year? So we then wanted to go look at, okay, well, if you don't want to go do that, and that's what fueled last year, what else could we do? What else could we do to grow our audience and grow engagement? And what could we do that we're not doing already? So again, it's really about looking at what's happening and analyzing all the data and then problem solving and making sure that whatever we're recommending fits the goals and the vision of the founder and the company.
All of that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that a lot of people, why marketing can feel so hard to people is a lot of times things will be down or something won't perform the way you want it to. And when we're not looking at data, there's a blend of it, but when we're completely not looking at data, we're just guessing. And what that might mean is we're spinning our wheels all over the place. We're over here updating a landing page and we're putting out a new offer. So I think that data is always a really, really important place to start when it comes to turning things around or improving something in a business when it needs to be fixed.
Yeah. And in the right order. Like I know what you're doing with us is you're road mapping
Yeah.
in a specific order, right? Like you mentioned the website, emailing, collecting emails, email campaign,
Yeah.
really making messaging clear. It was not clear before I met you, right? And really just road mapping this thing.
Yeah. And that's another important thing to touch on too. When we think about marketing as a whole, particularly in this role as a fractional CMO or a marketing lead, even if you're working full time in a business, there is so much you can do from website to funnels to social to email to freebies to there's a million things. One of the hardest things with this job is trying to decipher what is the thing that is most important right now. And I think
Mhm.
I want to point that out because a lot of people will come in and they'll do the stuff that's pretty, like, oh, the website looks better now. But we wanted to make sure we came in and we focused on the most needle moving things first so we could drive results. And now we're doing a little bit of a blend of both where we're driving results, but we're chipping away at those things that are a little bit more macro that we know have an impact. Your website, your organization of information, your positioning, that all matters. It's finding when is that right time to pulse those things in because it's not like I think it's this week or early next when those pages are all going to go live where we're not going to turn them live and then suddenly sales and leads are going to spike and increase. It's going to slowly have a ripple effect through everything, but it's about sort of, like I said, finding out when is the right time to do this so that we're not shifting focus away from something that could drive results and allow us to do this thing over here that might take us longer to see results.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that kind of brought up a question in my head. I didn't know. I'm going to ask you, what is the difference between sales and marketing? Because from the outside perspective, it's a product and a product wants to be purchased. I've never really studied the difference between the marketing and actual sales. Or
Yeah.
is there like, how would you describe that?
I think it depends on the business type. Even if we take your business, you have two very distinct sides of your business. And when I look at our job as marketing inside of your business, on the digital side, most of our job is marketing and sales because the
Mm,
selling is all digital. It's not like most of what you do as far as selling your programs and your courses is done through the computer. There's not someone that, we're hopping on a sales call for, out of the exception of your coaching program where you have your Ask Me Anything calls. So there's a little bit of a piece where you insert and you're kind of selling. You're not hopping on as a salesperson, but there's that element there. On the flip side, when we look at your home building side, I see marketing's job as brand awareness and driving leads. And then it's our job to bring in qualified leads to you. And then you're going to hop on with anyone who's qualified and sell them. So again, I think it's really different depending on the business structure. And so when you and I are talking, we'll often have conversations about, okay, where do we want to be focused right now? Should we shift focus and look at the strategy over here for this side of the business? Or do we want to be growing over here? It's important to consider where we're spending our time and our energy and what's going to have the biggest impact.
And when you talk about impact, what I've learned from you is that you really have to be clear when you're trying to serve others. So what you're doing with us is clearing up, removing the noise and clearing up how we can actually be of service so that when people are looking to improve something or looking for help, it's a yes or no,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. If we are doing our job well as a
Yes.
marketing team, then the market, your ideal client, your ideal audience understands your offer. And it's just a matter of, am I ready? Is this the right thing for me right now? And we're making it really easy for them to take action and say yes.
And that was a big cleanup that you had to do with us, really, because it was blurred. Everything was blurred.
I think that you and your type of business is my favorite because it's creatively really fun and interesting. And you have so much potential there. You should give yourself more credit. You guys did a phenomenal job launching last year and you got really great results without us. And we've been able to come in and use that foundation that you built. And really, it's a lot about you as a personal brand as well. But we've been able to kind of use all these really great resources and optimize and make things perform better. And really, we're working with the raw materials that you guys created last year. So it's been awesome. We really loved it.
Yeah, but frankly, we have multiple products right now because of you, because you question things like, hey, is that really helping those people or do we need to be bouncing over here and offering something that could be helpful to them? You noticed where we should be focused, right? So I had one product that I could offer before I met you, and now we have a bunch and even more that are going to be launched
Yeah.
because of that focus on who can you help right away and are they clear on
Yeah.
what we're offering. We need you. So thank you.
Okay, couple more questions here. Is there anything else you want to share with me or about the experience working with us and our team that you haven't shared or we haven't gone over yet?
You work with facts, you analyze the facts, you connect the dots and the vision. You work with extraordinary people so that we can feel comfortable about the marketing and we can feel excited about investing more money into the market. Because at any point in time, if there was any doubt, I'd probably pull the plug and keep on building. For me personally, you've been instrumental in taking a belief I have on helping people and making it happen. And there's a big difference between just believing and then actually doing.
Yeah.
So I'm extremely grateful for you, Jess, and all of the people we work with on your extended teams. And you really look out for us. You really do.
Thanks, Erin. Okay, before we wrap up here, one last question for other business owners who might be on the fence about hiring a fractional CMO. What would you say to them?
I run a home building company and work with hundreds of people on my payroll. And there's a thought where I can handle everything, but it'll kind of get done. I don't know if I'll really be proud of it. I think for anyone who really believes in something and they want to serve others, there are experts like Jess and her team that can deliver on the promise you're making yourself. I would encourage anyone who really wants to make a difference, it's best to use an expert to help you deliver on that package.
Well, thank you so much, Erin. It's been so fun having you on the podcast. I loved our conversation. You've been such a dream client to work with this year, and not just because of what you've built and what we've done together, but just because of how you show up, your care, your integrity, just who you are as a person. So thank you so much. I've just loved working with you, and I'm so excited for everything that we have planned for this next phase.
I am super excited because we're just getting started and I'm actually really excited to have a conversation a year from now about this.
Me too.
For everyone listening though, before we got on the call, I had a light bulb moment last night that if we have time to talk after the call, this podcast, we should talk. That's who Jess is.
Yeah. I constantly do. And if anything, I have to write them down, sit and think about it before I bring everything to you. I'm like, wait a minute, I need to sift through. Where does this fit in the plan? But I'm constantly having ideas for your business.
You've added a piece to my world that I've been thinking about for a long time and you're making it happen. So I'm extremely grateful for you, Jess, and your team.
Thank you, Erin. So if you're building a fractional CMO business and you don't want to waste years figuring it out the hard way, Fractional CMO School is open for enrollment and we'll give you the step-by-step roadmap that I used to build my business to 6 figures in 6 months and then $1 million per year with a small team of 2. There's expert coaching, one-on-one support, and whether you are an aspiring fractional CMO or you're growing, you're trying to figure out how to scale your team or do the role in a way that doesn't lead to burnout, it is a great fit for you. And you can learn more at thecmooffice.com. If you love this episode today, here is what I would love from you. Take 30 seconds to rate and review the show. It helps more marketers and CMOs find this content. Hit follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're going to implement any of this or you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out in my DMs on Instagram. I would love to support you. And thank you for listening. I will see you next week.